Thank everyone for coming. We have a very robust program today, so we want to get started on time. Just a few housekeeping measures before we start. We have cookies and tea and coffee in the back. Restrooms are down this hall to the left. If you don't want to interrupt the speaker, feel free to go through the restaurant. And the restrooms are straight back to your right. With that, I would invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner John Locke.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Those that are able, please remain standing for our opening prayer from our chaplain, Richard Ship.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, help us keep the faith. We know that we can depend on your support during these times or these days of strife and turmoil, where every fabric of our nation is being torn apart. This is not what our founding fathers envisioned. For we the people must stand up for what is right. Right to vote, right to free speech, right to religion. And that we would be a nation under God, one nation under God. And so we say this, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Ship. Please be seated. As I said, this is going to be a very busy meeting, so we're going to bypass a lot of our normal niceties, but we would like to do our roll call. So present is the President, Joe Wolf, our recording secretary, Sandra Capone. Just give me a second. Our Sergeant at Arms, Charlie Casio, and who am I missing here? Oh, Vice President, out of order, of course, Vice President Mark Chiappi in the back of the room, and the financial secretary is running late. She had medical procedure today. Did I forget anybody else? Okay. So introduction of elected officials. We're honored to have, if she hasn't left already, is Shirley Anderson, our supervisor of elections. And of course, on the dais, we have some active county commissioners, Commissioner John Alacco, Steve Champion, and Commissioner Navarrote has actually expressed regrets. Unfortunately, or fortunately, she is on the board candidate Association of Counties for annual conference on Federal Policy Committee of State Urban Development. So she's on the board. She couldn't get out of it. Is Mary Mazuka here?
On her way.
On her way. So State Committee woman Mary Mazuka. We also have Nick Holmes, Vice Chair of the Republican Executive Committee. And the last elected official, unless I'm missing somebody, is Jason Marquez, the President of the Wellington Homeowners Association. So we've already discussed, we're going to waive the Treasurer's Report. May meeting minutes have been emailed to everyone, and this month's Treasurer's Report will be emailed to everyone as well. So we just need to buy some time for this long meeting we're having. Quick mention, recently, if you're not aware of it, we've just accidentally flipped the school board. So we have a candidate running, Casey Hawkins, I believe. I'm guessing, but that might have been Brian Hawkins, Commissioner Brian Hawkins, which, no relation, right? So nobody ran against him. And I don't know if that's because nobody wants the job or if nobody thinks they can beat her. But we don't care. We won. So she's going to be on the school board, so we now have a majority of conservative voices on the school board. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, Brian. So now that you've made yourself known, introduce Commissioner Brian Hawkins, who's also present. So, last piece of business we want to do here, and I'd like to invite the Vice President up with me. We have member recognition in June normally, and we're going to recognize one of our members. He doesn't know what's happening. Mr. Richard Chip, would you come up, please? And bring your lovely wife.
And you.
So Richard is a longtime friend of this community, and he's been our chaplain since I don't know when. And he's also the chaplain for the Veterans Club in here. What have you been here, 20 years, Rich? 20 years? Easy 20 years. So we want to recognize him for all the hard work that he's put in and all the effort. So if we could just maybe get a couple of commissioners down here. You don't mind?
We go front?
Yeah, let's get in front of the
Come on up here. Oh.
Brian, you want to come up? How many days do you get a chance to take a picture with 3 county commissioners?
That looks great. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you very much. We're about to get down to business. Think I forgot anything? So, what are we going to do today? We're going to ask some questions. All these questions have come from our membership. The board and myself had nothing to do with it other than slight edits where it's appropriate to make sure everybody understands the question and to make sure that we're not, it's not a rant. So the questions are going to be 3 different types. They're going to be asked and answered by each candidate, directed to a specific candidate, or asked only of incumbent candidates or a challenging candidate. So there's 3 different types of questions. If at any time during the answer, the candidate mentions another candidate by name or indirectly, other than complimenting them, which is probably not going to happen, the candidate mentioned will be given 60 seconds to respond to the counterpoint. All questions asked today have been submitted to me via email. And unlike CNN, I have not shared these questions with any of the candidates. So finally, again, as I mentioned, some of the questions have been edited, both for clarity and brevity. But the heart of the question remains. Interestingly enough, I didn't have any questions until like a couple of days ago, and all of a sudden they all flooded in. I got more questions than you want to sit for. So I tried to put them in some type of order. So if you could please remember to place your phones on silent. If the candidates could remember to keep the mic close to their mouth, because our videographer needs that loud sound coming in from the speakers overhead. So as we've seen, the position of judge can often result in destabilizing communities. For that reason, we have decided to give you an opportunity to get to know these folks running for judge in our area. There are numerous rules on how they are allowed to participate in this type of forum, since we're partisan, we're Republicans. And for that reason, we've decided to put them up front, and they will be leaving before we start questioning the commissioners. So we just have some very short, two-pointed question, and a very generic question, and we're going to ask each of them to answer these questions, starting from right to left. Your right, your left. You, Barbara. So, Barbara. So the question is for all the judge candidates, and you can go right down the line. Your mics are on. You hold the power button, make sure the light comes on. The question for each candidate is, what are your top 3 priorities if you were elected as judge? And what personal qualities do you believe are essential for a judge? And how do you embody these qualities? And before you answer, Barbara, I just want to emphasize, it's really tricky to ask them questions because they can't answer a specific question about like a policy, because they may have to rule that. So we're really asking you about yourself. So if you could incorporate your answer to these questions into the question, into your answer, and all that you want to tell us about yourself. In 4 minutes, starting with Mike. Mike will give you, if you keep an eye on Mike, he'll give you like a 30-second warning. So, do you need me to read the question again?
No, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Kistner-Kwiatkowski, and I'm running for Circuit Judge Group 20. I think my top priorities, one, I have sensed a lack of trust in the court system, and I've been part of the court system for the last 20 years, and I am going to do whatever I can to rebuild that trust. Part of that is to make the court system work more efficiently and really just apply the facts to the law and make those decisions. The personal qualities that I have that fulfill that is I've been an attorney for 30 years. I've worked in civil, criminal, and family law. I was appointed as a judicial hearing officer in 2006, so I started hearing cases related to child support, paternity, those issues. In 2016, I was appointed as a general magistrate. So my daily duties are the same as a sitting judge. I get assigned cases, I listen to the facts, I apply the law, I make those decisions. Whether it's a 10-minute scheduling conference or a 5-day trial, I have made those decisions and heard those cases. I've been assigned the family cases, Baker Acts, which are mental illness cases, Marchman Acts, which relate to substance abuse, as well as the dependency cases. In all, I have heard over 70,000 cases and made those decisions. In 2017, I took special training and became part of the faculty of the Florida Judicial College. All newly elected or appointed magistrates and judges in the state of Florida have to attend this special training. So I have been there since 2017 teaching classes and helping those new folks adjust to life on the bench. I've taught things on case management, dealing with interpreters, how to write orders, how to distance yourself and apply the law to the facts without the pressures of the outside. In 2023, I was awarded the Faculty Leadership Award for the Florida Judicial College. So in April of this year, I had to resign to run. And that was a big decision. I gave up not just a paycheck, but health insurance. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but I knew I had to, because if there's anything that I can do to help regain the trust in the court system, to rebuild, make things work efficiently, and do whatever I can to make it a better system, I'm going to do it, and that's why I resigned to run. So I would ask for your vote on August 20th. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben Boylston, and I'm running for circuit judge because, like many, if not most of you, if not all of you, I'm concerned about the judiciary in this state and in this country. Now, I am a proud judicial conservative, and that can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. But let me explain to you what it means to me. I've always believed that when a person puts on the robe and takes the bench, it's not about them anymore. It's about things greater than that. It's about applying the law exactly as it is, not how the judge wants it to be. It's about protecting the community at the same time you protect people's rights. It's about fairly and impartially applying the law in each and every single case. Those are the qualities that are important for a judge, and as a proud judicial conservative, I believe those things. And like many of you, I've seen that that isn't always how it is in this state or in this country. But in my courtroom, it will be. Now, I understand how important these perspectives are because during my career as an attorney, almost 20 years, I've had lots of different perspectives in the law. I've prosecuted criminal cases. I've represented crime victims. I've represented criminal defendants. I've drafted contracts. I've filed lawsuits. I even have represented small cities. And right now, very importantly, I serve as the special magistrate for the city of Tavares. And in that role, I preside over hearings and I decide cases. Now, it may or may not come as a surprise to you that disputes between neighbors about the condition of the property next door can get pretty heated. But it's my job as the magistrate to keep things calm, to keep things moving, to make sure that every single person who comes into that hearing leaves feeling like they got their fair day in court, even in situations where I had to rule against them. Everybody should feel like they were treated fairly. And that's something that I've taken in my experience as a magistrate. Importantly also, I'm a small business owner of my own law firm since 2013. Now, that means that I have real world experience. I understand that it's important to be efficient because I understand that time is money. I understand what it's like to sign both sides of the paycheck. I've lost sleep over overhead and budgets. Inflation, I feel it because I'm a business owner. The cost of health insurance, I feel that because I pay for it. These are things that I understand as a business owner that not every candidate for public office does understand because they don't have that experience. But I, for one, think we'd be a lot better off if more candidates for public office did have that experience that I have. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are qualities that and experiences that have shaped me, that have shaped me as a lawyer, and that they will shape me as a judge. This is a very difficult role, but it's an important role that you have as voters. The United States of America is the greatest country that has ever existed on the face of the earth. And our judicial system is a big part of the reason why, and the rule of law that it represents. But we can't take it for granted that it's always going to be that way. That's why it's so important, the role that you have as voters, to make sure that the right people serve as judges. And that's an awesome responsibility, but it's one that you have. And I would ask that you look at the qualifications for the candidates. Think about it very carefully. I know you will. You're great voters here, very dedicated. And I would humbly ask for your vote on August 20th because I am the right person for the job. Thank you very much.
Well, my name is, can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Derek Saltzman, and I'm running for circuit judge in the 7th, Group 7 over in Sumter County. The three priorities that I think that are most important in the courtroom, first of all, is decorum. Now, what I mean by decorum, when a person enters a courtroom, they need to show the respect that our Constitution has given them, such as they're going to not come in there in shorts. They're not going to come in there and say, huh, yeah, no. They'll address the way I was raised. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And that means the attorneys as well as anybody coming before the court. The second thing that I would say would be efficiency. I intend to continue the use of technology to make hearings more efficient, such as Zoom, such as Skype. These are tools that, if used properly, can be make the courtroom more efficient and allow more people to attend hearings. And the other thing that I would say is important and that I would address is I would not be making my own law. I would interpret the Constitution the way it was written. I'm an originalist, and I believe that the Constitution has stood for over 200 years for a reason. It's not a living document so much to say as it doesn't change. The Constitution should stay the same. Now, I was born in a family of 5 people. I was born in Alabama and I moved to Florida in 1972 with my parents. We lived on a working cattle ranch. I've earned 3 college degrees, and I've been in an actual courtroom, sitting at the actual table up front for 24 years. I've had a lot of jobs over my 56 years, and I guess 57 coming up. My first job was picking cucumbers. I've done construction, I've done sales, I was a florist, I was a school teacher, all while raising 6 children. I've coached baseball, football, and wrestling for over a decade, and currently serving as Vice President of the Hernando Bar Association. I've told my kids and my players that practice makes perfect. My entire life I've been practicing, acquiring the skill set and knowledge to be a judge. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to have a broad background to be able to sit in judgment and wear the black robe. Just as you would not want a surgeon who's performed his first surgery the day before. I believe that a judge should not be somebody who's handled 1 divorce, 1 dependency case, 1 probate case, and call that experience. I have the experience necessary to do this job from day 1. I've filed and defended hundreds of divorces, family law cases, domestic violence injunction. I've handled complex civil cases, from landlord-tenant, from restaurants being destroyed, foreclosure defense, and I've also handled complex contracts for entertainers. I've helped them get their money that they're owed for performing. I've helped them get their money back from their so-called guardians who stole it from them. I ran my own law practice for almost 10 years, but for the last 14 years, I've been working as a regional counsel, handling primarily dependency and criminal cases. I believe my experience and integrity and willingness to listen and learn are the qualities that are needed for someone to be a judge. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Just a reminder, you really need to keep these mics close to your mouth for both the video, and we do have, I think there's a few people that wear hearing aids out here, no? So we really need to be mindful of that. Just glance over at Mike every once in a while. He's going to let you know how much time you got. And also, if you're not coming through on the mic, he'll tell you louder. Go ahead, Ms. Daly.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Erin Daly, and I'm also running for Circuit Court Judge for Group 7. So you'll find that there are 3 judge races on the ballot. This is one, this is one, and this is one. So I want you to be clear that this is a contest, this is a contest, this is a contest. They're not one person that you're going to be voting for. And I hope that after you meet with me and speak and hear what I have to say, that you're going to choose me as your next circuit judge in August. I have 35 years experience inside of a courtroom. I started at 19 years old as a court officer. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Everybody, can you hear me there? All right. Good, I got thumbs up in the back. But I started in a courtroom as a teenager. My dad was a NYPD cop. And when I said, I'm going to college, he said, well, take this civil service test. It's always good to have options. And when the time came and I was going to college, I realized that I wanted to be a successful conservative individual and not have a student loan debt and rely on my parents. So I went to work and I went to college at night. I started in 1989 and I graduated college right at 2001. Being in law enforcement in New York, I was a 9/11 first responder, ground zero there, and into 2002. Right at that time, I started law school, and I continued to work all day, and I went to school at night. So I'm not somebody who had a silver spoon in my mouth or was handed anything. I've worked every day every day in the courtroom, working with the judge, learning how to do a trial. And then in law school, I graduated, and as soon as I could, I ran here to Florida. So I've been here almost 20 years. I was at the state attorney's office up until last summer. While I was a prosecutor, I handled tens of thousands of cases. I took over 60 cases to jury trial, many more hearings, and I've worked with at least 100 judges over my career. And when I found out that Judge Morley was retiring, it just seemed natural. I was in private practice for a short period of time, doing the kind of things that a circuit court would do: criminal defense, family, a little probate, a little guardianship, a little bit of all sorts of different types of law. The three things that I think are very important to bring to the court are efficiency. I have a lot of energy, and I will move cases through the system effectively because I know how to run a courtroom. I've been doing it for years. The second thing I really think is important is working with our youth. I've been a youth court volunteer judge for 16, 17 years now. I train children to be volunteer lawyers, to be high school, college, and law students, that they will be interns and they will come back and serve our community as good conservative lawyers in the future. I think that I bring a lot of great attributes to the table, given my worldly experience and the different kinds of things I've seen, because my experience is not just here in Florida. I know that there's not much we can do about New York, Washington, California, even Tallahassee. Everything that we need to do is right here in Hernando County and in the 5th Judicial Circuit. So that is one of the things that I really think is important, to get kids involved. I've been endorsed by many people. Some of the politicians in this room have endorsed me. I was Prosecutor of the Year from Attorney General Ashley Moody a couple of years ago. And I have more. I have a resume here because you want to do the deep dive. Here's my background. And I hope that you consider me and vote for me on August 20th. Thank you. Here you go, sir.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at this, I'm already using borrowed equipment. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Zach McCormick. I'm running for circuit judge here in the 5th Judicial Circuit, seat 13. Now, this is a job interview in many respects, and I have conducted my share of interviews of candidates. And one of the things I like to do is make sure that I answer your questions first. And that's what I like to see in the people that I interview. So I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. Joe, I think I heard that there were some questions. We need to answer what are our top 3 priorities. Do I have that right? Top 3 priorities as a circuit judge. My top 3 priorities start with making sure that we follow the Constitution in every respect. That's something that seems simple, but to be quite honest, folks, in this day and age, common sense isn't quite as common as it used to be. Part of that commitment, which rolls into my second priority, is making sure that we put the time in. I'm going to do the job the way that I do my current job. And I'm in the private sector, folks. That means I'm going to bring that private sector work ethic. There's no such thing as quitting time until the job is finished to the public sector. And folks, the last priority that I've got is to make sure that we move cases, because it doesn't really matter who you are, what walk of life you come from. You probably know somebody who has been touched by the actions of a local judge. And as such, the worst thing that a judge can do is to be the cause of a delay in justice. There's an old saying, justice delayed is justice denied. So those are the top 3 priorities, Joe. A little bit about me, because you gotta know, right? If you're gonna elect me, you gotta know something about me. You know my name, Zach McCormick. I've been practicing law for about 15 years now, which isn't that long, so I joke that I'm like a new car with high mileage, because I've seen just about everything one can in that short amount of time in the legal profession in this very circuit. Chief amongst that is the fact that I started in the public sector. I interned with the state attorney's office in law school. Right out of law school, my first job was as an assistant public defender. After about 3.5 years in the public sector, I left to start my own law firm, and I've been handling civil litigation matters just about ever since. I'm certified by the Florida Supreme Court as a mediator at both the circuit and county levels. I am Florida Supreme Court arbitrator qualified. I currently serve as a code enforcement magistrate for a small municipality north of here called Howey in the Hills. And perhaps in many respects, the thing that's most pivotal to where I stand today is my presence on the Judicial Nominating Commission for this circuit. I'm the chair of that organization, and I'm proud of it. And we've been picking judges for the better part of the last 5 years, and that's how I can tell you with authority what makes good judges. Because I've asked just about everyone that would answer the question, what makes good judges? From the judges themselves to the lawyers that practice in front of them, and the lay folks who have to live with the consequences. And the answer, folks, is you've got to be respectful. You've got to show up. You've got to do that job. And because none of us know everything, you've got to learn from those that have come before you. Perhaps the most important element is the fact that I'm a father of 2 young boys, and I'm a husband to a wonderful wife who's put up with me for more than 20 years. Cumulatively, folks, I've got what it takes to be your next judge for seat 13, and I'm asking for your vote on August 20th. Thank you.
Well, hello, Hernando. I'm last but not least. My name's Heidi Davis. I am currently a sitting circuit court judge. In fact, I have been a judge for 14 years. So what I would like to say, what I would do going forward is exactly what I have been doing for the last 14 years. I agree with many of them. Efficiency is an issue with the courts. I will say that I consistently have the lowest docket numbers of the judges in Lake County. I think that one of the priorities, and we've really seen this since COVID, and people are wanting to work from home, and you can't get anybody when you call the judge's office. That is not the case with my office. The office is always manned, and if I'm not in the courtroom or campaigning, I'm in the office. I think it is very important that the public has a way to reach the office of the judge. Obviously, we can't speak to individuals ex parte, but I still think it is a very important feature not to just have to go onto the internet and schedule your hearing. So that is something that I think, from looking inside out, is a very important measure. Finally, camaraderie with the judges. Whether you believe it or not, we actually get along pretty well, and we do rely on each other at times for information, for just bouncing an idea off if it's an extremely difficult case or something new, and also to cover each other when something happens. If you have judges who just sit in their office and don't communicate with one another, that does not lead to the best judiciary that you could have in a county. And I think we've been very good in Lake County. We've been blessed that that has occurred. As I said, I have been a judge for 14 years. When I was first appointed, my appointment was here in Hernando County. I was the first female judge ever to preside in Hernando County. It was quite an accomplishment back in 2010. I believe that some of the traits that I have are that I consistently work hard. As I told you, I do keep my docket numbers down. I put myself through law school with a toddler, single mom, and have worked my way up to be where I am today. I am endorsed by Bill Gladson, our state attorney, by Mike Graves, our public defender, and I think Having both of those, both sides of the coin, shows that I am a fair judge. I am also endorsed by Sheriff Peyton Grinnell, as well as Sheriff Farmer. As we tell our jurors when we're giving jury instructions, you may not like the law, but this is the law that applies to the case. And even as a judge, we have to remember that. We may not like the law, but we have to follow the law. And I think that that is a very important function of being a judge. That way you have consistency. You don't have judges making up their own rules or making up their own laws. So that to me is a priority that I will continue to adhere to. And I thank you very much for your time today. August 20th, we're at the primaries. That's our end-all be-all. So please come out and vote. Thank you.
What a fantastic performance it is. So, getting some good news. Cookies and soft drinks are replenished in the back of the room. And now would probably be a good time to grab some. Don't forget about Susan from Trump Country back there. She's been nice enough to come and visit us today with all of her wares. There's some interesting products back there. About another round of applause for Susan. So, by all means, let's take a 3-minute break while we just do mic checks and fix. So, just to remind everybody, let's go over the rules again. Oh, and obviously someone did silence their phone, so if you could remember to do that again, please. It's very distracting when you're talking and all of a sudden the phone goes off, you think it's the timer. So we got 3 different types of questions. We're not going to go over them again, but I just want to remind the candidates that if they mention their opponent or another candidate for that matter, that opponent will get 60 seconds. That's provided it's not a compliment. But they'll get 60 seconds to counterpoint. So we went through our judges. So let's start with the first question. Can you name 3 drag queens? Oh wait, I'm sorry, that's the question from the San Francisco Mayor's Forum. That was a real question. Do you remember that? So, all right, that's loosening you up a little bit there. All right, so let's take 1 minute and 30 seconds to remind us who you are. And most of you know these folks up here, but some of you might not. Remind you who you are and why you were running for office. 90 seconds, each candidate. Let's start from with Commissioner Champion.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. I'm Steve Champion, your current county commissioner for District 5. And if you look at my palm card, it kind of describes everything. You're a proven conservative fighter. And that's what I am. I fight for you every day. I fight for your rights. I fight for low taxes. I fight for less government. I'm a business owner here in Hernando County. I own the largest gun store in the county, American Gun and Pawn. I also own a tactical military store, a police supply store, tactical supply and surplus. I've been honored to represent you for the last 8 years as a county commissioner. I'm looking for your vote August 20th to put me back in 4 more years. And why do I run for county commissioner? Why am I running again? Because this is my home. My family goes back 5 generations here in Hernando County. I love this place. My 5 kids are all raised here. They all went to public schools here. I have tons and tons of family, cousins, etc. But bottom line is that this is my home and it'll always be my home. And I appreciate if I have your support on August 20th.
Good afternoon. My name is John Alaka. Is this one working? Nope. All right, here we go.
Again, my name is John Alaco. It's nice to meet you. I moved to Florida in the early 90s to go to college. Got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, moved here to Hernando County, met my wife, got married, started a family, started a business. I love Hernando County. I've been here, wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could. Like many of you probably, just wish you got here sooner. I'm a lifelong Republican. I value Republican values. I'm a Christian. I believe God first. Why am I running for office? Hernando County is growing. Hernando County is changing. And I want to make sure that the values here in Hernando County remain the same. I want to make sure that the people who serve on the Board of County Commissioners believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They believe in the rule of law. I believe in exceptional constituent service, and I want to continue that because I love this community. I plan on staying here. And because I take pride in my preparation every meeting to make sure I understand every bit of the information that's going to come up in that meeting so I can make the best decision for Hernando County, and I want the opportunity to continue to do that for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. How you doing today? Good to hear. My name is Ryan Amsler, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 1. So the districts, there's 5 districts, but everyone in the county can vote in the different districts, and the whole County Commission Board oversees the whole county. So the districts are there, but everyone's involved. Part of who I am, I've lived here 30 years. My family moved here from Savannah when I was 10, so I'm 40 now. That means I'm old enough to have made pretty much all the mistakes you can make as a man coming up in the world. I'm also young enough and dumb enough to run for public office. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm also, still optimistic about the future. I grew up here. I graduated from Springstead High School. I was a Bright Future Scholar and went to USF. I've always been involved in volunteer work of some form or nature over the years. Not always what I wanted to be. I wasn't always involved in politics, so my voting record's not perfect. I don't have experience in government. I lived a life, in the business world. I was in restaurant management for 16 years. I ran restaurants from $4, $5, $6 million revenue a year. And then I got into finance. And over that course of 7 years in finance, I ended up trading my own mortgage brand from scratch in the last few months, Amsler Funding. I'm very proud of that. And I'll wrap up now, I'm sorry. But my focus is to put the residents first in the community. Let's focus on how we can reduce taxes for our senior community, figure out our infrastructure like our roads, and really do what needs to be done for the residents of this community. And that's why I'm here and why I'm running.
Test. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marvin Bain. I'm running for Hernando County Commission District 3. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I attended college at Georgia Southern University where I obtained my bachelor's degree in child and family development. I moved down to Tampa, started a nonprofit for 2 years. After that, I went to the fire department where I'm currently a lieutenant. I've been there for about 7 years. On the process of us starting a family, we moved up to Hernando County about 4 or 5 years ago. And this place has been one of the best decisions I ever made to start my family's foundation here. I got a wife, 2 little kids, 6-year-old, 3-year-old. And a little bit, things that motivated me to run for county commission was when I first arrived in this county about 5 years ago and to now, the quality of life has certainly diminished for the citizens, and me personally as well too. So I thought instead of standing on the sidelines and not being active in local government, I thought to step up and run. And I've been out on a campaign trail for since June, and the quality of the citizens that this county possesses is amazing. And it's no better feeling to stand up and fight for you guys. So that's it.
Well, thank you, and I would go a step further and say the quality of people that are in Wellington are even higher than that. And the reason I say that is because, and this is for the benefit of some of the people who came in a little bit late, all these questions are from our membership. All these questions are from our membership, not from the board, not from me, from our membership. And we sprinkle them with a couple of questions from the candidates as well. So, fantastic questions. I've got so many here, I can keep going all day long. But we're gonna try to get you out of here by 4:30. So with that said, the next question, we're gonna continue going Commissioner Champion first. This question, this is actually the first question, is going to be 60 seconds. Since becoming of age, how many times have you voted? Who did you vote for? When was the last time you voted? In what years were you registered as a Republican? 60 seconds.
Again, everyone, Steve Champion, Hernando County Commissioner. I registered to vote in Miami, Florida. I lived down in Miami for a while, and at 19 years old, so I would have been 1992, right before I believe that was a Clinton, who was it?
Bush.
Dole, was it?
Bush.
No, it wasn't Bush. Was it Bush then? It might have been, okay. But anyway, the first time I registered as a Republican, my entire life I've been a Republican. I'm a 99 scorer. If you look at my voting record, I missed one primary. I voted in every single primary, every single election, every single time voted for Republicans, except my first time, which I voted for Ross Perot. Because I wanted a Donald Trump before there was a Donald Trump. And I've always been Steve Champion. It's for the business guy running this country. And by the way, Donald Trump is going to win again if you don't get cheated. So thank you.
Okay, well, I registered to vote when I turned 18 in 1993 as a Republican. I have voted in every single election that I was able to vote in from the time I registered to vote. As far as presidents along the way, I did vote for, I voted for Dole even though he didn't win. I voted for Bush. I voted for, going through the list of, I didn't vote, well, let me see. I voted for, I'm trying to think of all the Republicans who came along the way. Well, I definitely voted for our President Trump both times. I worked very hard to make sure he won. And I can tell you I voted for every single Republican in the state of Florida who's holding office right now, including our great governor.
And Steve Champion.
But I have voted in every single election since I was able to vote. I believe voting is not just a right, it's a privilege, and it should be an honor. And we get to live in this great country, and people died to defend that honor and that privilege, so we should be voting every time.
All right, so how long, who and when, what year? So I grew up here since I was 10, so I graduated from Springstead High School. My graduating year, I signed up to be a Republican in the gymnasium, still remember the day, and been a Republican my whole entire adult life. Now, my voting record is absolutely weak. I've always voted for Republicans. I voted for Trump, voted for Bush, I believe. I was a lot younger then, so I believe I did. But I'm involved now, and I'm very transparent about that. That's who I am. I'm a Republican. I was a business person. I've been in business my whole life. That's how I came up. That's how I think about things, and want to run this county that way. Thank you.
60 seconds.
So this question is a little bit personal for me. So I registered to vote in June of 2007. I want to say I was a junior in high school, and coming from the black community, everyone is religiously Democrat, right? That's the only thing they know, and it happens often. So I'm sitting in class, my teacher, Ms. John, she hands us a paper and says, hey, this is voter registration. And I'll say, hey, what do I put? Put Democrat, that's what we do in the black community, right? So, but as I became a man and as I have evolved, I definitely see the detriment of the Democratic Party to the black community. If you go back to the 1900s, the black people have been conservative their whole time. And it was up until about 1964 when Lyndon B. Johnson created the welfare state, and basically the black community transitioned from God to the government. And it destroyed our community. 60 seconds? So when I first moved to Hernando County, right? I was 28 years old, just starting a family, and I knew that I needed to be a leader in my family holistically, and that means spiritually, financially, physically, and also politically. So I assessed the platform of each party, right? Not me, I wasn't. My voter record is bad. I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. So everybody, please, yeah, go ahead, put that on the record. I know you're gonna use it, but I was young and dumb, and if you're gonna hold me to a standard for a decision I made at 24, 22 years old versus 32-year-old man I am now, two totally different men. That's the first start. But how I thought to myself, if I'm looking to build generational wealth, if I'm looking to lead a strong family, I'm looking to support God and country. Conservative values is the only way to do that. And you just look at all the grooming, all the gender affirming care, all these things that the Democrat Party is doing, it's not good. And Donald Trump was the first Republican that I had ever seen that called out the black community. You've been giving your votes to the Democrat for 80 years, and what do you got? And now, if you look at the polls,
Okay, let's wrap it up. We're gonna give you another question. Fair question, fair answer. So now we're going to start with the candidates again, the challengers again. So from right to left, your left to my right, to your right. 90 seconds, because it's a complicated question, so I'll give you plenty of time. You can throw in anything else you want. Yeah. 90 seconds. Tell me about what you think about Live Local Act.
So I've been doing a lot of research on this Live Local Act, and I think it's very, we have to be very careful with this. So we just had a development on also a boulevard that got voted down, and that was just kind of started. So this Live Local Act is basically a tool for developers to utilize state funding and bypass all county and local ordinance regard to these local developments. So if you look down in Miami, in Bell Harbor, they have created this kind of a mixed-use area, and they've allowed to have apartment buildings, and the developers are getting subsidized credits from this Live Local Act. So I think Hernando County, with us being so much growth and development, as developer mindset, think from a business mindset, why wouldn't you take advantage of this opportunity that the state provides you? So I think it's still developing. It's some couple changes to this Live Local Act, but I think it's very important that we keep this on our radar and we make sure that we don't get taken advantage of in Hernando County.
So I've spent the last 6 months touring around the county with Leadership Hernando. Just recently graduated from that. It's an amazing program the Chamber of Commerce puts on to bring you up to speed on what's going on all over the county. Been taking a look at a lot of the different projects around the county. I recently met with our county administrator and plan to meet with all the directors of our local government and put that on my schedule while still campaigning to really understand what's going on with different parts of development. We know the last couple of years there's been rampant development. It appears on the surface sometimes as reckless. In my talks to the county, I feel that they are trying to focus appropriately on the proper, middle of the road building done correctly. But that hasn't been my impression over the last couple of years. So I think we need to look closely at this bill, really question it. I think residents first is what we need to focus on. First, before we worry about developers. We're already worried about developers when they bring projects, and then if they can't get their way with their property rights, they threaten litigation against the county. That means the residents could potentially incur litigation costs. So I'm going to dive deep into that. I don't have a position on it yet. I'm still gathering the information, but I will get to the bottom of it and make a proper decision, keeping residents first in mind.
The Live Local Act, just like many government policies, makes you think it's great by the title. In reality, it's terrible for a county like Hernando. What it does is it actually allows developers to take industrially zoned land. Those are the lands that we want to bring we want those manufacturers to come in and provide those high-paying jobs. It allows them to go to industrially zoned land and build apartment facilities, potentially low-income housing in those areas without having to go through the normal government channels to get approved. Okay, that's dangerous. And anytime lobbyists get behind things and they put things into law that limit the ability for your local government to get involved, you should be worried. This is a problem that Hernando County has to be concerned with. We don't have a lot of industrially zoned land. The land that we do have that's industrially zoned should be preserved for industry, so that we can provide the jobs in the future for those people who are moving here or who are raising their kids here and their kids want to stay here. They should be able to raise their families. We need those lands for that, not for apartment buildings. The land on Oshawa had nothing to do with Live Local Act. That was someone trying to just rezone land that was for residential into multifamily.
Well, even though John's not my opponent, I'm going to agree with him, obviously, because I believe in local rule, that's for sure, and we've talked about this several times on the commission. And we did have something similar come up yesterday, but it was just a simple rezoning, and I led the charge on turning that down. But again, threats of lawsuits, et cetera, even our council is like, well, you can't turn it down for this, you can't turn it down for that. And I'm like, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit a 4-story apartment building next to Hernando Beach houses. It's ridiculous. So, so the threat of coming in and taking this very valuable land that we have zoned in Hernando County that will bring great jobs, it's dangerous. And not to mention that, what does it bring to Hernando County? When you add these apartment buildings, or, some people call them projects. We've seen how those work, right? And since I'm from Brooksville and I'm familiar with what happened, and if you guys know anything about Brooksville, there was 2 major housing developments down there, low-income housing developments, apartments, et cetera, and they were riddled with crime. Well, guess what? Both of them have been shuttered for years. Why is that? Because it's not good. Some programs like Section 8 and things like that, that's a better way to go, because you can give them a voucher, you can help the people that need help instead of building apartment buildings, et cetera. So I agree with John Alaco that we should be, and he's going to get a chance to speak again. Say that, I mentioned his name, but it's a compliment, so I don't know. It's kind of a compliment. But anyway, so we should not have Tallahassee telling us that we have to allow these developers to come in and build these apartment buildings on very valuable land. Thank you.
All right, by the way, kudos to whoever submitted that question. I don't keep track. Nobody knows who submitted what question. It wasn't me. So now we're going to go to the incumbents. This question is for the 2 incumbents only. How many times have you ever voted for a tax increase as commissioner of this county?
I'm first. Well, I'm proud to say that I've never voted for a millage increase, and I'm actually asking for. Go ahead and clap for that. That's good. So I'm actually proposing now, and this is in public, so the commissioners that are in the room, they've heard me already, that I'm proposing to freeze our government this year. And worst case scenario, CPI, which last month was 3.3%. It looks like with the property appraiser's value, that's probably going to be the best we can do anyway. So I got lucky on that, since the property appraiser backed it back down from 17% to 6%. So we're probably not going to have the revenue anyway. And based on what our administrator told me today, we're 10 million plus over right now with the constitutionals that are putting it out there. So I will never push any more regulation or any taxes on you. In fact, every single meeting, the only time that we don't get along, some of the commissioners, is when they try to tax you or they put regulations on you. And I'm not saying these guys did it. They're not doing that. I think we're all conservatives up there. But we have to look out for the citizens, and we have to listen to what's going on out there. Right now, a lot of people are struggling. So I will never vote for a millage increase, and I'm not voting for one this year. Thank you.
Any taxes?
Any tax. So I have as far as tax.
Have you voted for any other type of tax?
I mean, I vote for the budgets, et cetera. And it's a kind of an unfair question. So if your property values go up and you vote for not to vote, roll back to millage, you are voting for a tax increase, right? So, but I'm not going to vote for a rate increase. You know what I mean? So if there's a value increase, I've had votes there. But every single time I challenge every single one to bring it as low as possible.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Alaco?
Thank you. As county commissioners, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure your government remains whole and solid. And I have one time voted for a millage increase when our county government was at risk, and we actually had letters from the state warning us that if we went any lower in our reserves, that there was potential that the state would take over. And that was due to boards before I was on this board and Steve was on that board that were making terrible decisions, and they were burning up our reserves and got them to dangerously low levels where the state was warning us. That was the only time. I've decreased our millage 6 out of 7 years that I had the opportunity to do that, and I'll continue to do it moving forward.
Okay, now, that was supposed to be a 60-second question, but we gave 90 because we gave Marvin extra time. So, 60 seconds for you, sir. The reverse. What are your plans on raising taxes? How do you feel about raising taxes?
Me?
No.
Me?
Well, either one.
I will never vote for a tax increase. Never, ever, 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 ever. I feel like right in this current economic time, our citizens are struggling really bad, and we have to hold the line on taxes. Some of these pet projects and wants and things that we have out there, maybe we have to delay it for the moment. And they're going to say, oh, since I'm a firefighter, they're going to say, oh, you're going to vote for the fire increase, fire budget. I still pay those taxes. So I'm not going to subject myself to taxes that I don't want to pay as a citizen. I'm going to spend the money I'm going to spend your tax money like it's your tax money. I'm not going to spend it like it's my money, and I will always vote for be fair for no taxes.
Yeah, so we definitely have problems with financials in this county, as you can tell from all the speakers speaking on it. I led a life looking at P&Ls and budgets and forecasts, and obviously I've been in finance for about 7 or 8 years now. I say no to the 1% sales tax. I don't think that's necessary right now. I'm not a fan of taxes. I'm a fan of small government. We've seen our local and federal governments grow exponentially over the last several decades and expand. It needs to be smaller. I am a fan of renewing our taxes for schools that are in place. They may not be the most popular thing, but I feel that those taxes have been in place for, there's 2 of them. One of them's been in place 10 years, and we did just fine with that. Our kids are important. I know this community, you probably have grandkids, but it may not be a big of an issue to you. But I think we need to take a hard look at taxes, because our revenue for the county has increased, 54%, I think it is, over the last 7 years. So we do have a problem with taxes and fees. We need to cut waste.
Okay, a couple easy ones. We'll start with Mr. Mayhem. What is 60 seconds for this one? What is your #1 issue or task you'd like to accomplish during your term?
So my #1 issue and task that I would like to accomplish during my term is to re-energize this community. Just like I stated earlier, being out on the campaign trail, the citizens in this county are amazing, and I've been kind of intrinsically motivated to be more passionate and fight for them. In this time where we're experiencing division amongst our country, locally, we can put our arms around this community and we can revive it. So I would like to be just incested in every single community, Ozark Town, Ridge Manor, Hernando Beach, Weeki Wachee, Springfield, everywhere, and really connect to the community, give myself to them, and let's start to turn around our community. And at least if the country is in disarray and disrepair, Hernando County can be a very strong community, and I would love to lead the charge on that.
I think we need to balance our budget for once, is what it sounds like to me. I talk to a lot of residents. I'm resident first. That's how I operate. That's the only reason I'm in this race, is that, after living here 30 years and growing up here, it's not the same town it was back then. And I think we've gotten a little off course. I think we've got a lot of great people working in our county, even some of them leading the county. But we need to get back to what really makes sense in putting the residents first. So balancing the budget, getting our reserves in place properly. Communities like the Wellington, I don't know the financials here, but I know I've talked to people at Timber Pines. their financials are wonderful in how they run that community. We need to learn some things as a county about how to run the county's revenues and expenses. And that's how I plan to operate the county, like a for-profit business, but for the residents.
My number one priority during this next term is to maintain our Hernando County identity as we deal with the growth that's happening, because Hernando County and Florida is the number one place to live in this country. I believe that we've worked hard to make sure that's the case, and people are moving here or want to move here in droves, and we have to maintain our identity. But I will say that balancing a budget is actually the law. It's done every year, and Hernando County over the last 4 years has actually increased our bond rating to the highest levels it's probably ever been.
All right, this is no secret. I'm for small government. So my number one priority, and it's always been my number one priority, is to keep government small. And right now, our government is way too big. And I've told these guys this, and I know they're both in the room. But when I got on this board 8 years ago, and due to it's not all our decisions, right? It's property values increasing. Obviously new homes coming online, and unfunded mandates from the state. There's a lot of those. Septic, sewer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we could give you a laundry list of unfunded mandates that we have to fund, as well as inflation. But when we look at Hernando County, it's more than double in 8 years. The population, there's two different numbers, 12 or 17%. It's not 100%. That's for sure. So the government is way too big. It's getting way too big. The average tax bill is $5,800 right now in Hernando County. That is insane. When I moved back to my home back here, it was average like $1,600. So it's not sustainable. And it's definitely not sustainable for you folks, the retired community out there that's struggling with insurance, taxes, et cetera. So it's about shrinking government and getting it under control. Thank you.
This will probably only take 30 seconds, but you can take as much as 45 if you'd like to elaborate. So we'll do 45, starting with Mr. Champion. What's your position with DEI initiatives?
I don't believe in any of those Democrat philosophies, and I believe our government. Our governor has done a fantastic job of standing up to the monster that's out there, and I was just talking to somebody earlier about social media and all that the double standards, et cetera. And you should stand on the person should be judged and given a job, et cetera, based on their ability and their performance, and not by skin color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thank
you. DEI is incorrectly organized. It should be called IED. Because anytime you promote somebody based on characteristics that they have nothing to do with, it's guaranteed to blow up in your face. Okay? We should never be promoting people based off of the color of their skin, where they're from, their gender. Okay? It's just ridiculous. Merit should be the way it is. I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said he wanted to be judged by the content of our character, and that's what we should always do.
I feel a lot of these social programs sometimes start out with good intentions, but often get hijacked by other parties and other people behind the scenes. I think that I'm a person that looks at things in depth, but also very simply. The power resides with the people. If the people can stand united as many times as possible, they're the ones who are actually the shareholders of this county and this nation. County commissioners are merely the representatives of the people. We shouldn't be dividing each other up, between this and that. That's how the people behind the scenes win in America, keeping people divided. And I know I'm a Republican, I'm not supposed to say we need to unite people maybe, but I think we do. And I think Donald Trump supports that, us coming together as one people and standing up for that, not letting that divide us. So I'm not a fan of all these, particular terms and groups, and I think we just need to stand as Americans, we need to stand as the people of Hernando County that's irrelevant to me. We need to make sure we provide good services and take care of our residents' needs.
Need some help there, Mike?
Let me come down here.
Go ahead.
I got it.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies.
No worries, doing a great job. What a hand for Mike, huh? A lot of great volunteers in this club. Let me see, so.
I still got it. I don't get it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Lost track of it.
Just go ahead.
So, keep going until.
So America was founded on the premise of meritocracy, in that all men were created equal and endowed with unalienable rights, right? So I vehemently oppose DEI, and I'll tell you for one reason. So growing up in America, right, everybody will tell you, oh, white people are racist, they're against you, they hold you back. And it's not one task in my life that I wanted to accomplish and anybody held me back. I mean, I went to college and got a degree. I got promoted to lieutenant in the fire department. I became a homeowner. I'm running for county commission. So who's holding me back? And that's what I have to say to you guys. It's false, and I think we need to start preaching this message. And it is working. It's coming up. The black community is waking up to all these Democrat lies and scams they've been running for the community for the longest. And people are saying, no, you're wrong. And I think our country is going to be better because of that. So, no to DEI.
Okay, another 45-second question. Can we have a moratorium on further development? So I guess this really should be worded, do you believe it's possible to have a moratorium on further development so that we can change our zoning like Pasco did in 2021? So, with the commissioners?
Okay, so the simple question is no. You know, and you know why? Because it's not right. The Constitution guarantees your property rights. So now, can we change some policies? Can we look at some things? But John Locko and I, as well as the other commissioners, we revamped that whole 2040 plan. There's something wrong with the 2040 plan. What's out there is misinformation. What a lot of people say is like, hey, all these car washes coming around here. Well, guess how many we've approved? I've seen one. Guess what? They're zoned right, so they can build them. Entrepreneurs are allowed to fail. They're allowed to build storage units. They're allowed to build car washes. They're allowed to build a house if it's zoned residential. You know, where we come in is it changes to the rules. So we've got to be careful about that. And we turned down at least 50%. I mean, just yesterday, we scrutinized every single one. We turned down apartment buildings. We turned down several things. So it's not a free-for-all is what I would say. We're not approving everything. Understand? Don't listen to social media. Thank you.
As a conservative Republican, I believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Okay, and the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution guarantees your property rights. And if you have an illegal taking, the government is required to reimburse you at market value, and in the state of Florida, for any losses that you have as a business. Okay, it's frustrating when you see houses in a place where you used to see trees. But if that land was zoned and it had those rights on there for building a home or building a community or building a shopping plaza, okay, it is unconstitutional to take that away. The idea of a moratorium is thrown around like some other words that we see in society that aren't correct. The reality is, if we had a moratorium, it'd have to be specific to fix a specific problem, and you as a taxpayer would be tasked with paying for that problem to be corrected.
impression from financials I've looked at that impact fees have been mismanaged for not just the current county commissioners, and no disrespect. Many of them do find jobs in other areas, but it's been mismanaged for quite a long time, a very, very long time. So these people moving in, they're coming in, outside developers, international developers, and paying barely anything into the community. They're not using our labor, they're not using our resources. What are they really doing for us? So, a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of residents I've talked to have asked me if I do a moratorium. I've gotten this question before in the last couple of weeks. I don't know the right answer. But I'm definitely going to put the residents first. And if it takes shutting it down for 6 months or 12 months, I'd have to look and talk to legal counsel on that. But we need to fix it. Maybe it's not the answer, maybe a middle ground's the answer, but we gotta fix it.
I said that, Mr. Bain, you invoke the 60-second rule, so I think invite the commissioners to.
Can I answer?
Sure.
All right, so I just want to speak about impact fees for a second. We do have impact fees, and we have all agreed to at least increase them. I agree to at least 50% increase to handle the roads. Now, we're going to have some workshops on this. We're going to talk about it. But the real answer is on impact fees. They don't pay for anything. It's crumbs. It really is. It's a few $1 million. We need $175 million to fix county line. If you increase them to the max, you're going to get a couple of million. So what's it going to pay for? Some land acquisition, some surveys, some planning. That's it. It's not paying for projects. But you know what pays for projects? You know what pays for tax? It's the tax revenue from the new houses and new businesses forever. They pay taxes forever. So you got to be careful with that. If you increase them to 17 grand, you're going to push everybody to Citrus County. There'll be no building. Maybe that's what we want. So we'll see what happens when we have our meeting. But they are going to increase substantially. Thank you.
Quickly on impact. I have been a proponent for over 4 years on the Board of County Commissioners to increase our impact fees because they are way too low, and you as the taxpayer are subsidizing the impact of those homes. I'm going to disagree with Commissioner Champion on this one thing. I'll use one community with 3,500 homes that we know is going in Hernando County. If the impact fees for roads were put up to where they should be or close to where they should be, we would raise over $17.5 million for roads just off of that one community. So it can fix the roads around those communities if it's done properly. Can it hamper growth? I don't think it's going to. In Pasco County, they're over 20 grand right now. Honestly, even the national builders who are here are asking why our impact fees are so low, because they want the community around their homes to be a good community moving forward.
Mr. Williams' response on the rights. Yeah, the moratorium.
So I don't think a moratorium, like you said, is you have to have a circumstance in order to implement a moratorium. I don't believe moratorium because the essence of and the reason why private property owners' rights is so defined in the Constitution is because it's very important. So it's the reason why robbery is illegal. It's the reason why rape is illegal, because your being is the essence of your private property owner's rights. So anything that violates that is a violation of property owner's rights, and that's clearly spelled out and defined in our Constitution. So we must protect private property owners' rights and not just be with a knee-jerk reaction to just these cool things. We just need to be firm with private property owners' rights.
Fantastic. Well, we're just about wrapping up here. I have one personal question for one of the candidates. So before I read that, I just want to let each of the candidates know that afterwards we're going to go back to Mr. Champion and we're going to give him 2 minutes closing statement. So Marvin, Mr. Bayham, as a first responder, how will you be able to balance your commitment to the county, which is often most needed during emergencies, with your employment requirements?
So basically, when I first started campaigning, I did a test. I basically did a trial run of how would I be able to manage my time as a firefighter as well as here serving as a Board of County Commissioner. So I have not had a drop at work, no performance decrease at work, and I haven't had a performance decrease during the campaign. Our schedule is 24 hours on, 48 off, and we have something called a Kelly Day. I can select a Kelly Day, that's a Tuesday. The Board of County Commissioners meets our second, fourth Tuesday. I can select a Tuesday. I would never work a Tuesday in my entire career. So I will be fully accessible, I'll be fully available, and as well for the emergency response wise. We have something called strike teams, and these are specialty teams that are deployed for different natural disasters around the state of Florida. I've been in the department for 7 years. I've never been deployed. So that's just confirmation that I will always be fully available. I will always give my 100% all to this county, regardless of my service at the fire department.
That was also a good question, whoever submitted that. So now we're going to give a 2-minute wrap up, so you guys will have some time to think about it. Starting with Commissioner Champion, who I know can do 2 minutes standing on his head.
Again, I'm Steve Champion, your current county commissioner. I'm asking for your vote on August 20th and again in November. I do have a Republican candidate that's running against me, supposedly. And I'm going to say this, and it's negative, I understand. She's not here, but she didn't bother to show up. But she campaigned for a Democrat in 2022 and worked against our party. I want you to know that. I got a picture of it with a Democrat shirt on, with a Democrat sign. You need to know who she is. And this has been, you can ask Shannon Rodriguez, what does she do with the school board? She wants pornographic books in the schools, etc. I'm gonna leave that alone right there, right?
She worked against the school board the last 16 months.
Okay, so there you go. There's Shannon Rodriguez, you can talk to her. So there's a lot of stuff going on now in politics, and and for whatever reason, there's some people out there that they're not real Republicans that are running against us, so we got to be real careful about that. But I'm your proven conservative fighter. It's on my little card here, real simple. I vote for what's best for you and your pocketbook and your family. I started from nothing. I lived in a single white trailer as a kid. I didn't come with a silver spoon on my mouth. I mean, everything I have, I started and worked hard my whole life. I started working at 14. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Republican Party. As you see my Republican pin, everybody was talking about. I wear Republican shirts around proudly, and I definitely wear Donald Trump shirts and hats around. Not today. So we need to save our country, and you know what? This race is less important than Donald Trump's race. I mean, because we don't have a country if we don't have Donald Trump coming up. But we're going to get him back in, so I'm already counting that as a win. But again, I hope you vote for me. I pray you do on August 20th and again in November. Thank you.
Thank you for putting on this event. I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions. One of the things I'd like to say is I have been a lifelong Republican, but I've also worked very hard for the last 2 decades here in this Hernando County to turn this county from a purple county, actually a blue county, to a purple county and then a red county. And people said, why are you running again? Why are you running again? And there was talk about Democrats switching parties and running for Republican positions in Hernando County. And after giving up all that time and effort as a vice chairman, as the chairman of the Republican Party, even as state committee man, and working to make sure people like Donald Trump won big here in 2016 and won big here in 2020, and we got DeSantis across the line in 18 and again in 22. I was concerned and I wasn't going to stand by, and it's a good thing that I did. Mr. Boehnam's a nice guy, okay, but he's never voted for Donald Trump. He's never voted for Ron DeSantis. He could have done it 2 years ago and he didn't do it. He's never voted for Republican in his entire life, and I would love for him to stay involved in the Republican Party, but I don't think he should be representing the Republican Party after this election. And so I'm asking for your vote. Allow me to continue to serve this county the way I have as a conservative and an honorable member of our county commission, and to continue to serve you, the constituents, on a daily basis. Thank you.
30 seconds, 60 seconds?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I get to respond back to the rebuttal.
Oh, well, that's just the closing on.
Oh.
But sure. You want another extra minute?
Yeah, you should get extra minute.
Throw minutes around. They're free.
So we get a nice.
So we're gonna give you 2 minutes and 30.
So I would like to say that I'm actually encouraged that as a candidate, the only thing that can be said about my candidacy is that, oh, he was a Democrat, he never voted this, he never that. I'm actually encouraged by it. What I'm discouraged by is, in this time when we got illegals flooding the borders, We fight to get Donald Trump elected, and you're worried about who's changing parties, who's doing what. I'm fighting for my country. I'm fighting for what I believe in. I'm fighting for my family. So if it doesn't please you, and Donald Trump was a Democrat before too, John. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat before too, John. So it's my right to fight and run for office, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I guarantee you, I will serve this county with enthusiasm, with passion, and with commitment, and you'll never regret it if you elect me in office.
Now, wait, it's just, well, so why don't you give,
2 minutes,
I don't
right?
even finish that.
yeah,
Okay, I'll finish up. On a lighter note, I'm back. I would say, if you guys been around this county, and I love this county dearly as well too. I haven't been here my entire life, but this is where I purchased my first home. My son was essentially born here. He was a month old when we moved and bought a house in this county. And yes, I was not involved in politics, and I'm not proud of that. But in this time and moment when our country's at risk, I'm deciding to step up and risk a lot. I put my own money into my campaign. I studied all the things that's necessary to run for a county commission. I followed the issues. I committed myself to this community. And all I'm asking for is an opportunity. I'm not saying I'm the savior. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying in this time, in the moment of truth, when our county is at risk, our state is at risk, and our country is at risk, I'm not sitting back on the couch and I'm not participating. I'm stepping up. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about me or my candidacy, I'm fully transparent. I'm welcome to answer any questions. And August 20th, vote for who you believe will take this county and have the best interest of this county for the future. If you've been around the last 8 years, you witnessed what happened then. And as we witnessed what happened the last 4 years, the previous 4 years before that. So just ask yourself, who can lead you into the future?
Guess we saved the best for last.
of course, yeah.
Magic. You know, I've lived in the county a long time. I don't know if that matters or not. You know, there's a lot of new people to the county that I'll have to represent if I'm elected. But resident interests come first to me. I love this county. Central Florida I grew up in. You know, my dad was born in Ybor City and fished off the banks down there with a cast net. My mom, you know, got married to my dad out in Leesburg, Florida. This is my home. This is my hometown. And I want what's best for it and what's best for the residents of it. So if that means, you know, we need to take a look at, you know, our fixed income seniors and how we can provide further tax breaks for that, I'm gonna look at it. I'm not gonna have all the answers. I'm not gonna make you a bunch of promises today. I'm not your normal politician, but I'm willing to ask the questions until I have the right question. When I have the right question, we'll have some great answers. We'll make progress. My vision for this community is to get it back to being a hometown, thriving, beautiful, where we're putting some measures in place to control the development, whether, you know, there are serious property owner rights, but we can mold that into a way where things are beautiful and done correctly, you know? I mean, it's either that or maybe I get up here and promise to give 25 more car washes to the county. So, as you can tell, I have a sense of humor and I just say what I'm thinking. And I want what's best for these residents, and I want to represent you and how you feel and give you a voice. Thank you very much.
All right, well, that concludes our candidate forum. Just stand by for a couple of seconds. Two things I want to announce. First of all, and don't all rush to the back of the room. So we got a bunch of things back there you might be interested in. Susan from Trump Country. More cookies. Coffee and iced tea. So, like I said, as soon as I say meeting adjourned, you make a rush for it. But I'd also like to remind you, we have plenty of these folders here. They're really good if you recently moved here, or even if you've been living here forever. These folders are up on the front desk here. Grab one of these on the way out. Really handy resource, just been reprinted. And pick these up at the Veterans Fair. You can actually get one of these phones for free if you're on Medicare and you wear hearing aids, which I think everybody is. So looks like it's pretty cool. I might get one someday when I have to wear hearing aids. But I wanted to point that out to you. I want to thank all the candidates. Another hand. motion to adjourn, or, I'm sorry. Oh. Will be suspended. Nobody's gonna forget about the rap. Oh, yeah, please.